Being quiet. Because we're all here at the Newport Folk Festival, ready to enjoy some quiet music, folk music.
Yeah.
Why is that curly-haired man with a Stratocaster?
What are those strange devil horns on that instrument?
What is happening right now? Why is it so loud? It's throw the tomato. We don't have tomatoes. Throw the hippie juices or whatever we have here. What's that stuff that they put on patchouli?
Yeah,
well,
that stuff.
The stuff like you're in trouble. Anyway, we want to talk about how the Beatles were to folk music what Nirvana was to hair metal. And that was just a fun intro. So this is a fun idea we were talking about yesterday.
Yes.
And then we were like, we got to shoot a video on this. And so we sort of dug into it a little bit, and we're going to have some fun with it. So click like, subscribe.
Hit the old bell.
Thanks for joining us in this glorious year of 2023.
Yes.
We're about, 38,000 years before the disasters of the Warhammer universe. That's to unfold later, but hopefully not.
We got some time. We got plenty of time.
Yeah, 38,000 years or so. Until it's a bad 30,000 years in between.
On the bright side, we'll all be dead. Society, probably the Earth.
No, it'll be fine. My kids will take it.
The sun's going to explode. Well, your kids will be fine. We have generations left. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So folk music was becoming a monstrous thing. Not in a bad way unless you hate folk music. Because I tend to like folk music.
Yeah.
I like Bob Dylan. I like Joni Mitchell. I like Joe Baez. That stuff's all popping off pretty hard. You have to go back into history a little bit. Rock and roll was not supposed to be what it is.
No.
It wasn't supposed to be as popular. Swing, country, western, Hawaiian.
That was the old Leo Fender prediction, right?
Yeah.
Country, western, Hawaiian music. That's what the kids are going to go
And
towards.
so they'll be
Wow.
doing their luau's and hopscotching, and this rock and roll thing's probably a fad.
Yeah.
Buddy Holly, he's neat, but he was gone in a year and a half, but
his legacy lived on.
his legacy still lives on. Day the music died. Yeah. But no, so folk, when it started to emerge, when it reared its ugly head, a lot of folks thought, well, this is sort of like the transition of rock and roll maybe is ending. It's going to have this folk sort of lineage, and it's connecting to the anti-war sentiment a little bit. But then that drastic mop-top group of Beatles came over.
Bam!
They ruined it.
They wanted to hold your hand.
Yeah, it's the amount of records that can sell just with one hand holding like balladeering duo.
Obviously it was not. Had anything been anywhere close to the amount of records that they sold at that point, or like
Elvis.
When Elvis maybe
Elvis was doing like monstrous
fame.
work. Elvis has gone off to the army for a minute, so his star sort of wanes out. There's not Johnny Cash is different music, obviously. There's Jerry Lee Lewis. He's in and out too. He sort of destroys his own career with his shenanigans.
Well, it just doesn't seem like he's not. In my brain, he's not there with Elvis. Maybe he was at the time for like contemporary.
He was like ahead of him for a minute, and then like Elvis just like
bam,
I think just took over, and then Army started derailed Elvis, and then the Colonel. It's a whole thing. Because I'm a big Elvis fan too, but no, it's the Beatles like just they put that nail in the coffin in some ways of that genre becoming a lot bigger than it could have become. It's become epic, and we all look back to it and love it and worship it and. I was going to say revile it.
Well, do you think that was the big part of causing Dylan to go electric? Do you think he was looking at the Beatles and saying, "Hey"?
Well, I think part of I think Dylan I know it's Dylan historians, but like my just sort of surface analysis of Dylan is like he likes to buck the trends.
Yeah,
he likes to fight the status quo. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, of course,
he knew this was going to cause a ruckus, and that's cool. He's a young dude. We're not looking at 75-year-old Dylan. We're looking at young 20s Dylan, and he's a punk. The kid's a punk. He wants to like have a little fun and rile people up a bit. And how else better than to like do the exact opposite of what your fans want?
Yeah, that's true.
And so like then our parallel draws over to I look at Sad Case of Warrant. I like Warrant too, just as a precursor. And like Warrant is the newest darling of hair metal.
Right.
They had Heaven came out as their first lead-off single, and they had a couple of lead-off singles. Where the Down Boys go, Heaven, and then Cherry Pie explodes.
What a bowling alley anthem that was. I remember seeing the video at the bowling alley. We're like, oh my God.
I remember like my parents being like, don't watch that video.
Yeah.
Because it's just too sexually charged, like rock and roll. It was exciting. There's
Rock
dudes in
melody.
hair and makeup, the fast pans and cuts in. Like, girl's gorgeous. She's wearing a funny outfit, or little shorts things. This is the time of, Pretty Woman and all these like exciting things of this sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That all of a sudden, this really sad stuff comes out that's angry. And these guys don't comb their hair.
No.
They're not wearing makeup.
They're wearing flannel.
And ratty jeans, darkly lit videos,
Combat boots.
cheerleading
Shorts
girls
and boots.
that are depressed,
Right.
kids in high school that are not happy. And then so Warrant, the lead singer comes in one day. That's a great, I forgot which interview this was in, some documentary. I think it was about like the history of rock and roll and everything. But he comes in, Warrant's behind like the big poster of them. And then he comes in like the next month and there's a picture of these guys in flannel.
Yeah.
Like the Nirvana pictures we've come to know and love. And he's like, what? And then he said the spigot just turned off.
Well, there were tons of guys sort of poised to be that next hair metal thing.
Weezer
and
was.
they go hard into that, right?
No, Weezer was like the lead singer for Weezer was like very much of that ilk.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, even like Pantera, right? Like Dimebag was doing like the glam thing.
Because it's what everyone was doing.
This is what everyone was doing.
We all go through cycles and we copy the leader.
Of course.
We all do it,
The only thing I see where the parallel is not as strong for me, right? It seems like with the folk stuff, a lot of those folks sort of pivoted and changed, and then it all commingled. And then the Beatles kind of did a folk thing later on. You know what I mean? Like it all sort of swirled. Exactly. What?
The Beatles are
it's wonderful.
Thing. They
the
just
Beatles
became
are their own
something
thing.
else.
But then, like the only thing I see different about the hair metal into the grunge is it seems like there was this hard cutoff, and if you were in the hair metal thing, you were screwed. And suddenly,
this is also in a day of MTV.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, the visuals, MTV dictated what was in popular culture. It did not exist in the time of folk and the Beatles. Like to see something on the Ed Sullivan Show, you had to tune in that night and watch it. There was no rerun. There was no video.
It was all this in the moment. It also seems to me like in that world of the Beatles and even a little later into the 60s and early 70s, like in my brain, it was this magical fairy tale time where all these artists knew each other and collaborated, hung out in the village, and they, wrote things together.
Well, it was. Then we have to add the fact that they were all having sex with each other, breaking up, doing lots of drugs, becoming overdosed. Or not, you don't become an overdose, becoming disenfranchised with each other, getting overdoses, having you don't get them, you have an overdose.
Taking each other's wives.
Yeah,
trade for Les Pauls or whatever.
The whole thing, like lady for Les Paul, which is, I think, is a fair trade. Sorry, honey, my wife, whatever. If there's a real burst, you got to go. Right?
Yeah.
100%. Chrissy already knows she's on the chopping block. She's on the chopping block for like a really classic Squire Classic 5.
It was
a good one.
Maybe some upgraded pickups.
Yeah.
Tone.
Stick some pickups in there. Done. Wife gone.
But so, I guess those are just different spots in history. Because by the time you get to hair metal, like it's in my brain, it's all very commercial. I'm sure they still maybe knew each other, maybe hung out, but they weren't collaborating in the same way.
No, and I think it was a much more slamming of the door.
That's what it seems like to me.
Music was different in the 60s, and the fact that they could go on and still play the theaters, and music traveled differently through word of mouth.
Right.
It wasn't just like through like what we were inundated with our Instagrams and our TikToks and our Spotify playlists that are like pre-programmed to like make us listen to what the labels want us to listen to. That's now, and then it was the MTV generation of our generation growing up. Whereas I remember like when there'd be a premiere of a video.
Yeah.
Like premiere tomorrow at 3:00.
Right. And you watch it and like everyone is watching it at the same time.
To see like the new Warrant video, Cherry Pie. She's mine. It's like
my biggest memory of that was
mine.
It was Michael Jackson.
Oh,
it was the premiere of
with Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah,
black or white.
And I remember my whole family.
Me too.
Sitting there and watching
9:00 or something. It was like, was it during the Super Bowl?
I think it was during the Super Bowl.
It was the premiere of the video, and it was awesome.
It was amazing.
Because if you go back in time and like watch the old Super Bowl halftime shows, they used to suck. Yeah. They were terrible. They had like Disney halftime show one year, and then I think that's when the Super Bowl was like, enough is enough. Not the band.
Okay.
Enough.
Okay, we're getting Prince. Yeah.
And they got Michael Jackson or something. Yeah. That's when everything changed and it was amazing.
It became a thing, spectacle.
It's so it's neat when like moments like that happen. And it happens continually. The boy band cycle's a cycle too. You'll see it. They run for about 5 years and then they end.
Yeah.
That's sort of the cycle. Because like there's an age limit. You don't want your boy bands traveling out at 35. Wait a minute, Backstreet Boys are back. But that's different because it's, again, the ladies of my generation are going out to go see them, and younger cats now, they've been exposed to it. Not illegally exposed to the Backstreet Boys. I mean, if you're going to have people exposed to you, that'd be the group though, right? Like all the Backstreet Boys, like they did the full Monty.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I wouldn't like. I just avert my eyes if I did. I think it's humorous. It's like the whole Louis C.K. thing. I was like, that was like, just turn around then. It's weird. They just doing that right there, but who cares? See it. The Backstreet Boys did it. I think we probably all stood and stare for a minute. Right, Jonathan?
I think my wife would be very excited if it was a Harry Styles. Sadly.
It's fun. There's a great person online. She's an older lady. She reviews like all the attractive like people of today, and it's like the guy who plays Captain America. What's his name again?
Oh, yeah,
him.
That guy.
They show.
Whatever.
Sorry, we forget. They show him, and she's like 10 out of 10. And like Harry Styles comes, she's like, oh, like 4. Like, what is he wearing? Why is he wearing like my doily outfit?
No, that is strange.
It's like Chris Pine. She's like 3 because he's the guy that's like his long hair and his like weird makeup face.
Yeah.
And then it keeps getting worse, and she's like, yeah, it's like,
It's strange.
What has happened?
But I mean, there's a contingent out there because one of my wife's Christmas presents, not for me, mind you.
Oh, I know. Harry Styles
was a coffee mug with Harry Styles tattoos and then a picture of his face on the back.
You know what I'd forgotten though? Because I was watching some old videos of Nirvana. I'd forgotten how attractive Kurt Cobain was.
He was.
Like you forget, like in grunge, you go by like Kurt Cobain, Eddie Vedder, and Chris Cornell. Like those are good looking. Gavin Rossdale, not grunge, but Gavin Rossdale is like the hottest of them all. It's like absurd.
But they really are all attractive people.
Like it's fun. Like it's the Jim Morrison. Then you go like to Eric Clapton. I don't know. Maybe it looks more like us.
He had some okay phases. Yeah. But always kind of,
But I look funny, so I can just say whatever. It's fine. Makes me happy. Yeah. Paul Rubens is my father, so it's okay. Love that man. God rest his soul. But so I think that's about it. We're done. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Yeah. Derek, thanks for watching all this with us, not once but twice, but 3 to 4 or 5 times to edit it all too. So signing out, like, subscribe,
hit the old bell.
Ta-ta.